for some. Let's
Yeah.
how it goes lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for Dr. Muhammad Hafiz as a moderator and introducing me. I think that's very nice and warm welcoming. And I also am happy to be here. And I'd like to appreciate Pinus Management, Head of Department, and also Alia, the one who contacted me. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm very happy to share some of my knowledge, some of my activities to all of you. And perhaps today is a sharing session among us. So we can exchange the knowledge that we have. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, critiques, arguments, or inputs at the end of the presentation, I'm more than happy to hear that. Okay, let me share with you the slides. Give me a moment. Okay, is my slides is clear?
Yes, it is clear. But
Okay.
some of the audience said that your voice is a bit
A
low.
bit small, a bit low.
Yes, more. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
what about now?
Yeah, I think it's okay now.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody
Let
says
me
still
pause
low.
my video. Perhaps it helps a little bit. Okay. All right. So I'll just start. My presentation today is talking about sustainable roads construction on peat. Yeah. I inform here that this is something that what we should know as civil engineer, but unfortunately, it rarely learn at university. I believe maybe not all of us never been taught in our university, in our lectures about peat. We might be introduced about peat, but perhaps in details we never have that in the class, right? So I like to share with you. So these also the things that I learned during my research and also my activities here as a lecturer. But I also, same as you, perhaps we never learned these things in our lectures in the university, be it at undergraduate level or postgraduate level. Yeah. So I think most of us knows what peat is, right? So peat is translate to gambut, yeah, in Indonesian and also Malaysian. Okay. So I believe that all of us have seen gambut already, right? Have seen, and also maybe some of us lives nearby or maybe in our own backyard. Okay, but most of us, unfortunately, don't really pay attention to what we have in our backyard. Yeah. Therefore, today I'd like to share with you, and also I would like also learn with you, learn together. So, what sort of things that we need to consider when we do a construction on peat? Yeah. Okay. So these are the things that I'm going to cover today. Okay. So I'm gonna show you what are the challenges, background challenges, what motivate us to learn about peat, yeah, to consider sustainability in peat. What should we do? Yeah, what bring us to better learn, yeah, in order to better understand the how we deal with peat, yeah, and then we delve a little bit into the peat itself, yeah, the genesis, the origin of it, classifications, particles, distribution, and so on and so forth. Regulations, as an engineer, we need to understand as well, with regard to regulation, because what we do when we do a construction, we need to abide the law. Yeah? of the country where we have our project in. And then potential environmental issues. This is the very hot topic nowadays, especially with regard to carbon dioxide, the carbon, the climate change, the global warming, where peat is one of the biggest contributor to the global warming nowadays. And then what are the considerations that we need to take in order to ensure the sustainability when we do construction on peat? And then last but not least, I will also share some of the road construction techniques that is available, applicable, and also practicable. When we do a construction, what are the options that we have in order to construct the road on peat? Okay. So let's begin with the challenges. What motivates us? So what necessitates us to delve into the peat and what make us to look into peat nowadays? Before, people might not just or might just see peat as something to avoid. So when we see peat, and then let's just avoid it and let's take another route of alignment or whatever road that you have, you just avoid peat 100%. But nowadays, population is growing. 10 years before, our population perhaps 80% than our population today, right? We increased as much as 50 million and 100 million in Indonesia and also in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. Our population is growing. Therefore, we need a place. We need roads. We need infrastructure. Okay, and the expansion of road infrastructure, we cannot just avoid peat anymore. So we should have anticipating building the infrastructure or road bypassing peat nowadays. That's a must. Otherwise, we have no longer adequate place to have our road to be constructed. Okay, therefore, there's no more choice we have. We don't have any more options. We just have to deal with it. Okay, so another challenge, background challenge, why we have to delve into the peat is because peat is well known for its low geotechnical quality. So we'll talk about the quality later on, what we mean by quality, especially for road foundation. When you construct peat, road on peat, then what sort of problems that are arising from the construction itself in peat, right? And most importantly is the environmental issue. When we talk about peat, we normally associate it with carbon, carbon release and also carbon sink or sequestration, because peat swamp, the peatland is a place where nature protect the carbon. The plant that dies protected by the water, keep there for millions of years or thousands of years, and not releasing carbon. So now when we construct our road on peat, there's going to be a problem with the carbon release from the peat swamp itself. As for your informations, carbon in peat is pretty much majority of the materials. So per 1 gram of peat, we have about 0.18 or 0.6 by weight, with 180, 600 gram out of 1,000 milligram, of the dry peat is carbon. So when you expose it to air, when it's no longer underwater, then you're gonna release it to the air. Okay, and CO2, which is the carbon that is released to the air, is 80% contributor to the greenhouse effect, the global warming that we have. I'll show you the graph later on, what's going on in our world with regards to this global warming. And also damaging ecosystem. When you construct something, of course, you cannot avoid sometime, the trees, especially the birds, primates, when you go to Kalimantan, the pretty much is occupied by primates. When you go to the jungle, you see a lot of primates. And then when you construct road, then definitely they have to go away, and that they have to find a new place for for their lives. Yeah? Fish, yeah, reptiles, and so many other ecosystems that will be damaged by the construction. Yeah? And also reducing flood retention area. Remember, the flood retention is the place where we need to store temporarily, yeah, when we have a huge amount of water coming up from precipitation or rain, then we need to store it temporarily before it released to the river. Otherwise, we're going to have a flood. Yeah? And by having less peat, we're going to have less flood retention area. So we're going to expect more flood in the future. Okay. So these are the things that challenges that we need to face, and we need to have in mind how we're gonna solve this, how we're gonna deal with this when we construct road on peat. Okay, okay. All right. So let's start with the peat genesis, the origin of peat. Okay. Most of us knows how it originates, but probably most of us don't know what sort of mechanism, yeah, when when we copy it, actually it comes from the a plant, and after that it decomposes biologically, eaten by the bacteria and also fungi, and as a result of that decomposition process, that bacteria and fungi releases carbon, yeah, carbon dioxide as their secretion. So their metabolism secrete producing gas. Yeah, it's like a secretion from them. So they eat plant because the plant has sugar in it. Yeah, of course, it's not the sugar that we usually eat, but for them, it still contains some sugar in order to get energy for them. Yeah. So once they eat it, once they decompose it, it releases carbon. So it converts the solids, yeah, from the plant into carbon dioxide, into the gas released into the air. Yeah. So that's what's going on. Yeah. So that's what we call biological decomposition. So it involves breakdown of particles, the dead plant, broken down by the bacteria from bigger to smaller, and then released to gas, something like that. And so when we talk about peatland is the place where peat is developed, peat is growing. Yeah, it's normally grown in a place what we call a swamp, or what we call a waterlogged area. Yeah, waterlogged area is area protected by it's low lying area protected by a perimeter made of soil also, and that area is prone to flood, and also retain some water in it in order for the peat to be preserved, something like that. So in English, some people call it peat swamp, and also call it fence mire. That some of the synonymous of what we call peatland. Yeah, in Indonesian and also bahasa Melayu, yeah, we call it gambut. Yeah, tanah or kawasan or lahan gambut. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what material that we are dealing with. Yeah. Since it is placed on ground, and we know that ground has also some other type of material, which is the soil that what we know, which made of minerals, yeah, like sand, gravel, clay, yeah, silts. Of course, there is no such 100% uh, uh, organic matter contained in peat. Yeah, so the peat itself contains less than 100% for sure, but it's very not uncommon. Yeah, you can find the peat which is 99% also. Yeah, but cannot be 100% because it must contain a little bit of non-organic matter. Yeah, non-plant is coming from the minerals, yeah, like silica or other type of minerals. Okay, therefore we need to define somehow, yeah, what we call peat, yeah, what we call peat. because the percentage of organic matter, the plant that is decomposed, less than 100%. Okay, but unfortunately, so far we don't have a consensus. We don't have a a fixed terminology, what we call what sort of organic matter that should be contained in peat. Yeah, let's take a look at some of definition given by institution or also countries. Yeah, for example, STM. Yeah, in United States, in America. So the material that containing organic matter more than 75% by total dry weight. Yeah, we can call it peat. Otherwise, we cannot call it peat. Yeah, you just can call it organic soil or whatever. Yeah, but we cannot call it peat if it is less than 75% by total dry weight. Yeah, the organic matter. In Indonesia, we have two types of definition. Yeah, 75%. So we follow the STM. If we refer to construction, okay, but when we do mapping, yeah, so when you see the map, the peat map, yeah, we normally use 12% only. So there's a discrepancy, there's a difference, because those who learn peat is not only us, yeah, it's not only civil engineers, soil scientists, yeah, from agriculture, they also learn peat, yeah. So their definition of peat is probably different than our definition of peat. Therefore, we have two types of classification, yeah, at what threshold of organic matter we can call the peat is peat. Okay, in China, they use 60%, yeah, 60% organic matter. In Russia, they have 50%, for 50%, yeah, in Russia. In America itself, they have also two, yeah. 75% for STM, American Society for Testing Materials, yeah, for engineers. They use 75%, but they use 20% by the agriculturalists, yeah, by the soil scientists, USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. They use 20%. So we more or less mimicking what the United States is doing, yeah. I have two terminologies, two thresholds for definition of it, yeah. All right. And then once we see peat, peat is not part of soil. Yeah? Some people differentiate or distinguish peat from mineral soils. Yeah? Peat is another material that has their own classification. Yeah. So let's take a look what sort of classification that we should know in order to distinguish peats, because they are not the same. Yeah? Okay, when we refer to STM, yeah, the STM, there are three classifications, yeah, fibric, hemic, and subric. So these are the classification based on the fiber content, fiber, yeah. When plant decompose, yeah, eaten by the bacteria, it started from fiber, yeah. You see a lot of fiber, yeah, in the dead plant itself. So it start with fabric, yeah, and then move to hemic. So when decomposed in the longer time, yeah, it becomes smaller and smaller, darker and darker. So it become hemic, yeah. The fiber content is becoming less. And then when there is a further decomposition, yeah, and then becomes subric. Subric is towards the end of the decomposition cycle, yeah. So the end product of the decomposition, we call that material as a subric. Okay? We classify as subric, yeah. So the material is very dark, very the particles is very fine, very small, and it's like a slurry, yeah. The material is more or less like slurry. Okay, so that's one of the classification, fibric, hemic, and subric. Yeah, another more detailed classification is proposed by Von Post. Yeah, Von Post classification. So it starts from H1. Yeah, H stands for humidification index, meaning the level of decomposition. Yeah, starting from H1, when the plant just dead. Yeah, just die, and then eaten by the bacteria, decomposed by bacteria. I start from H1. And then as the time goes, decomposition is becoming longer and longer. Yeah. it becoming, at the end, it become H10, yeah? So from 1 to 10, that is the levels of humidification, okay? So this actually pretty much align together, yeah? When look at the fibric, hemic, and subbric, and also von Post H1 to H10, actually they are more or less the same in a sense that they are quantifying the decomposition level, yeah? So we can use both because when we want to look at more detail, of course, you want to use the von Post classification itself, yeah? So how to do von Post classification is not that difficult. You don't need anything except you just need your hand, yeah? What you need to do is you wear gloves and then you put your hand inside the pit and then squeeze it, yeah? Squeeze the pit with your hand, with your palm, yeah? Hand palm. And then you see what coming up from between your fingers, yeah? If the water coming up from your fingers is dark, yeah, and then the decomposition is high, yeah. When some material you cannot keep it in your palm, it just coming up from your finger, you cannot hold it, yeah. It meaning the decomposition is high, yeah. Okay, so when the material is retained more in your palm, when you squeeze it, then the composition is less. Okay, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So when you do that kind of test, you just need to look at the definition here. What is H1, H2, and H3? Yeah. So it's very qualitative. Yeah, it's not quantitative. You don't need to measure anything, but you just need to qualitatively see or estimate. Yeah, what kind of color of water that coming up from between your finger and materials that coming from between your finger, yeah. Then you can classify that according to the workforce classification. So that's how, these two classification is very popular, yeah. So when you descent pit, you have to classify at least, yeah, using these two methods. Okay, this is the listing, yeah, that you need to report. All right, so let's go into the particles. Yeah, what is the particle size of the peat? Yeah, we know that the gravel, yeah, is more than 2 cm. Yeah, less than 2 cm to 4 mil to about 0.4 millimeter is sand, right? That's what we learned. And then finer than sand, we have silt until sieve number 200. I'm sorry, the sand is until sieve number 4, right? And then after that, we have fine grain, and then we have silts, we have clay, right? Until 2 microns size. But peat is different. So the particle size is very wide in range, yeah, starting from 0.1 or less to 40 millimeter, yeah, 4 centimeters, quite big, yeah, because we have decomposition level starting from the H1 to H10, yeah, we have very wide range. But I tried to do some analysis using particle size analyzer. So I put my sample. My sample at that time is subbrick peat, yeah? And I put it in that machine, and I got these results where the average diameter of the subbrick peat is about 25 micron, yeah? So it give me some ideas, yeah, when we have subbrick. So what sort of particle size that I can imagine, I can think of, yeah? It's about 25 micron, yes, more or less like silt, yeah, silt size. Okay, so the higher the composition, the smaller the particle size, yeah? When you have fibric, perhaps you're gonna have 4 centimeter or more, yeah? Less, when you have less, or when you have more decomposed peat, you're gonna have less size, yeah, in terms of particle, hemic and subbrick also becoming less, smaller and smaller, yeah. And then you wanna see the particle itself. You have to see it using electron microscope, yeah, scanning electron microscope, where you can see the details, yeah, how the particles look like. So it's totally different, yeah. When you look at the particles, the particles. It's not like mineral soil that we know, yeah. Sand, silt, clay, yeah. It's not like this, yeah. When you look at sand, you see as a rounded materials, right? Silt is pretty much rounded as well. And then what we search, and then clay is plate-like, yeah, flaky-like, sometimes can be like hollow, tubular shapes. But peat is different. Peat is, we call it amorphous. There is no shape. The amorphous meaning no, nothing, yeah. Morph meaning there's no shape. We cannot even tell, yeah, what kind of shape is this, yeah. But we can explain, yeah, what sort of things in there. For example, yeah, we have honeycomb matrices. Honeycomb, it's like the bees honeycomb, yeah. It's like cells, yeah. You look at cells. Of course, they're coming from plants, then the remains of the cell you can see. So that's what we call honeycomb matrices, yeah. And we see also pores, yeah. A lot of pores, yeah? Inside the particles we have pores. Yeah? It's different than mineral soil. The sand don't have pores. We have to assume the sand is solid. Yeah? When you talk about Terzaghi theory, that assumes soil particle as a solid. Yeah? But in fact, in peat, we don't have that assumption is no longer valid. Yeah? So we have yeah? Meaning internal pores within the solids. Yeah? We have colloids. Yeah? Colloids, the material less than 1 micron. Yeah? You cannot sediment the colloids. Yeah? It cannot be deposited. Yeah? It's just flying inside the water. Yeah? That's what we call colloids. Yeah? It's like cloth. Yeah? Very flaky materials in the peat. Yeah? So that's what we can explain. We can describe, yeah, what kind of particles we have. Yeah. Okay. So it's not like mineral soil, right? Okay. So finish about the peat morphology. So talk about peat distribution. So we face the reality what we have in our country and also in our region. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you some statistics. Okay. The world has 4.3 million kilometers square. Yeah, it's about 3% of world land. World land, not world ocean, but world land consists of peat. Yeah, comprised of peat. Okay, by continent, yeah, America is the one that got the highest number of peat. Yeah, you may look at Canada, North America. Canada is the topmost country that has peat. And when you look at South America, Brazil also got a huge amount of peatland. Yeah, and then come Asia, Europe, Africa, and Australia is the latest. Yeah, where Australia, if you go to Australia, you see pretty much a desert. Yeah, but still, it got a little bit of peat when you go to Queensland. Yeah, and go to North Australia, probably you'll see some little bit of peat over there. Yeah. What about Southeast Asia, where we live, the region where we live in? It's about 25 million hectares or 250,000 kilometers square. Yeah. When you convert to hectares, 25 million hectares. Yeah. Indonesia got the most of it. Yeah. Almost 90% of it is in Indonesia. Okay. So the statistics says a wide range of number here, maybe because there are a lot of institution or agency doing the mapping. So we have 124,000 to 240,000 kilometers square, 13 million hectares to 24 million hectares, approximately. Yeah, the peatland in Indonesia. It occupies 7 to 12%, yeah, of Indonesian land. What about Malaysia? Malaysia got a good percentage of peat, yeah, in the Malaysian lands at 8% of peat, yeah. In East Malaysia, they got 15% of East Malaysian land is peat, yeah. But of course, when we compare to Indonesia, is not that as much, yeah. But it's still significant, yeah. When we compare to the land, yeah, to the percentage in terms of percentage. 8% is quite significant number, especially when we look at the location where the peat is on the coastline, yeah, where the urban area, the major cities. is on the coastline. So it is very significant in that sense, yeah. So we see Malaysian Peninsula here and also East Malaysia. Most of the cities are near the coastline, like Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, and other cities. In East Malaysia, we have Kuching, Cebu, yeah. So those area lies on peat, yeah. Those cities lie on peat. Okay. What about Indonesia? Indonesia, we have enormous amount of peat, yeah, big amount of peat. Therefore, all of us need to know this, yeah, need to know this because this is our job, yeah, our responsibilities, especially as a civil engineers, yeah. East Sumatra, yeah, East Sumatra, pretty much occupied by peat, yeah. I think Sumatra is the island that got the most of peat that we have, yeah. And then second is Papua, yeah, West Papua have a lot of peat. We see this big figure here. The brown color is peat, yeah. And then Kalimantan, yeah, we have lots of peat in Kalimantan, especially in West Kalimantan and also Central Kalimantan. In Java, we don't really have much peat. Probably just spot of peat, but I don't think we have peat in Java, eh? But in West Nusa Tenggara we have. In Lombok we have peat, yeah. In East also we have peat. In Sulawesi we have peat, but not significant. Eh? Okay, so that's the peat distribution. All right. Now, as an engineer, as I said, we need to look at the regulations. Yeah, what are regulation that regulates the use of peatland? Yeah, because we are dealing with road construction infrastructure, then we're gonna make use of that land. Yeah. Okay. So in Indonesia, we have government regulation. Yeah, PP, Peraturan Pemerintah, number 71 2014. Just recently. Yeah. If you remember, that was the the time where there is a huge amount of smoke, yeah, coming out from Indonesia. It makes our neighbor complain about the smoke coming out from peat fire, yeah. 2014 during Susilo government, yeah. So this government regulation was made, and then amended by Joko Widodo in 2016. Also, when during the smoke happened, yeah, pit fire happened. So this government regulation follows the problems. Yeah, when problem come, then the government regulation comes. Yeah, so that's what we have in Indonesia. But nevertheless, we still, thanks to that government regulation, in order to make our peat safer. Yeah, and also we have INPRES, yeah, instruction of president regarding the licenses. Yeah, when you build plantation, sawit plantation, and there is a moratorium in new licenses, they have to look into details of your project, yeah, before the license is granted. Okay, and we have a decree of Minister of Environment and Forestry. Okay, regarding the peatland itself. Yeah. So these are the regulation that Indonesia have. Okay. So according to the regulation, the peatland is classified into two. Yeah, protective and cultivated. The protective one is very protected. Yeah, very protected. I will see what kind of think whether we can do road construction in there or not. Yeah, but cultivated, of course, we can make it as a productive land. Yeah, we can grow plantation, vegetation, whatever. We can make it as our a daily activity in there. Yeah, in that particular area. Yeah. All right. What about in Malaysia? So instead of two, Malaysia got three classification. Yeah, rank 1, rank 2, and rank 3. Yeah. So rank 1 is similar to the protected one, very protected. Yeah, very protective. Yeah, government almost don't allow anything to be doing here, to be doing in this particular area. Yeah, rank 1. Rank 2, maybe in between protected and cultivated regions in Indonesia. Yeah. Cultivation is allowed, but a certain control is made in that. You need to follow certain regulation. Rank 3 is pretty much allowable even when you do construction in there without limitation. But of course, there's still some environmental impact assessment that you need to have in that particular area. Yeah. So instead of two, we have in Malaysia we have three ranks. Yeah, three classification. So these are the rules that Malaysian have. Malaysian also have similar, more or less, rules that they need to follow also. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what that rules relates to us as civil engineers, yeah? So we want to know whether we can build road in that area or not, right? That's what what we need to know, okay? So in Indonesia, in the protective ecosystem, the first one, yeah, in the protected area, we can only build road if the road is national strategic infrastructure, project strategis nasional, yeah, we can build road, yeah. And then if it is emergency routes, evacuation, tsunami evacuation, in case we need to build road for tsunami evacuation, we can build road in that protected area. Upgrading existing road. Let's say we have existing road already in that particular area, then we can upgrade. No problem. No need to demolish the roads. We just can upgrade. Yeah. This projects need to have approval from Ministry of Forestry, Forestry Ministry, and we cannot drain the water, So when you build road, you need to have some sort of techniques where you don't drain the water. For example, pile supported or elevated, You have to build bridges instead of conventional roads, So this comes into the cost. The cost will be much higher. When we build road in this protected area. What about in the cultivated area, cultivated ecosystem, peat ecosystem? You can build road. But for agriculture, for plantation management, for forestry, and for local transport, that is allowed. So, but you still cannot use the land for construction, for other type of construction. For example, housing, it's still protected for those kind of construction, But road, of course, this is allowed. Okay. What about in Malaysia? For rank 1, only for federal highways, with an absolute exception, meaning only in the very very narrow circumstances, only very low chance that you can build road, only in this exception when there's no alternative routes. So let's say you're gonna build road from A to B, there is no alternative routes. You have to pass the ocean, for example, or river. Instead of that, you have peat there in rank 1 peat, then there's no other alternative, then it can be allowed. In that case, design must preserve peat hydrology, water, and also wildlife movements. So you cannot cut it. You cannot divide the area, meaning the wildlife will be separated, right, into left and right. You cannot do that. So it's similar concept pretty much with what Indonesia has. So we should not drain the peat. So in case we do construction, it has to be elevated construction. So the wildlife can go under the road itself. They can move freely, without obstruction from the road. All right. For the rank 2, agriculture access road can be built, a plantation road, with this under very strict hydrological control. Rank 3, it is allowed. Permits for general public roads, of course, with some limitation in terms of environmental mitigation. You need to have some sort of EIA, environmental impact assessments, before the project begins. Right. So done with the regulation, and then what we need to consider, in terms of environmental. Okay. So let's go back to the carbon, the carbon problems that we have. So when we release the peat into the air, when the peat is no longer underwater, what's going to happen? The carbon will be released to the air. All right. That's the thing that we need to consider. Yeah. Do not release the carbon. Try to minimize the releasing carbon to the air because we want to make our world safe from carbon. Yeah. From the greenhouse effects. Okay. So what happened when we expose it to air? So that bacteria release the carbon to the air straight away. Yeah, directly release to the air. So instead of preserving it in water. So remember this type of bacteria, the majority of the bacteria is aerobic. They need oxygen. Yeah. So when we store the peat under the water, that bacteria cannot live. Yeah. Only small, very, very small percentage that is anaerobic. Yeah. That doesn't need oxygen. 99% of them need oxygen. This bacteria need oxygen in order to eat the peat and also release the CO2. Remember the oxygen, yeah? So they need oxygen. So when we put it under the water, that decomposition or that carbon release become very minimum. Yeah, that's why we don't should not expose it to air. Okay, so what about burning? Of course, yeah, of course, the burning is something that expedite the process of releasing carbon. Yeah, so exposing it is not allowed. Yeah, let alone burning it. Yeah, so burning, of course, is not allowed because it accelerates. Yeah, expedite the process. Therefore, so what we need to consider for the environmental, avoid exposing peat to air. So do not excavate the peat. So when we do construction, try to minimize excavation. We'll see how we do a construction on peat later on. Yeah, and above all, of course, you cannot burn it. Yeah, it just become CO2 straight away. Everything becomes CO2. Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing that we need to consider. Not much, yeah. We don't need to dig into what kind of gas, and we just need to avoid not to expose it to air. Yeah. All right. So what will affect? So when the carbon released to the air in large quantity, yeah, is more than the threshold, more than the limit that the air can sustain, then it will affect us, yeah, our livelihood, yeah, and also for the ecosystem, the animals, yeah. For example, the shellfish, yeah, they cannot grow their shell, yeah. Remember the shellfish like shrimps, yeah. Uh, their shell becomes soft, yeah, because of that carbon in the air, yeah, and then that carbon precipitate, yeah. If the carbon in the air accumulates and then rains precipitated to the water, and the water become acidic, yeah, that acid will create the shellfish, the shell of the fish, yeah, shellfish or the shrimp, for example, yeah, the shell of the shrimp is becoming soft, right? The crabs, yeah, the crab has shell, the shell becomes soft, yeah? And then our reservoir, we don't have no more ponds, retention ponds, yeah, to prevent flood, yeah. So there's so many things that can happen, yeah, as a consequences of the carbon existence, yeah, in the air, yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the peat, yeah. The peats in Indonesia, what kind of peat we have, yeah. So is it different than those northern areas, the temperate regions, yeah, peat? Yeah, let's have a look, yeah. Indonesia peatland area is the largest tropical peat. Now, there is another classification, but this classification is not technical, yeah. So we call it tropical peat because we are living in the tropical area. But there is a little different, yeah. I'll show you later on what's the difference. And also we have the oldest peat on Earth, yeah. Recently, there was a researcher found out that to this date, yeah, to what we know so far, this is the oldest peat on Earth. Where is it? In this area that I circle here. Anybody know where is this? It is in Kalimantan, yes. It is in West Kalimantan, but particular area, particular cities or town. Anybody knows? Yeah, this This Putu Sibau, yeah. Those who come from Kalimantan, West Kalimantan, I think you know this area. Putu Sibau is quite far from Pontianak, yeah. I've been several times in West Kalimantan, but I never been in Putu Sibau. Unfortunately, I want to go there sometime, especially when our oldest pit on Earth is in there now, yeah, in Putu Sibau. So those who like to do some research, then go there, yeah. We have the oldest pit on Earth in Putu Sibau, yeah. All right. So what is the difference? Tropical peat and temperate region peats. Yeah. Tropical peat, if you look at the chemical, yeah, we don't want to go deeper into chemical, but chemist says that. So when they inspect the tropical peat, they found that the chemical components is a bit different compared to temperate regions peat. Yeah. So what's the difference? Because in tropical peat, they found more lignin. Yeah. Lignin is a chemical composition that derived from wood, yeah, from timber, rather than from grass, yeah. So when we look at the peat in temperate region, for example, in Ireland, yeah, in Russia, in Canada, that peat is derived from grass, yeah, instead of wood, yeah. So our peat is like, yeah, the picture on the left, it made of wood, yeah, it derived from wood, from timber, from a big trees, yeah. But in temperate regions, they don't really have much wood. They don't have many woods. Yeah, they have grass. Yeah, the grassland, and as far the eyes can see, they're just grass area. Yeah, that grass turns into peat. So that the chemical compositions is a bit different. Yeah, but we don't really need to go that far. But we just want to see what's the difference. Yeah, when we but of course, there is some implication later on when it comes to characteristics, yeah, of the peat itself. All right. So this is the peat, type of plantation in temperate region. Yeah. Most of the peat is derived from this plant. Yes, it's called sphagnum. Yeah. So
Dr. Hassan, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
you have around 2 to 3 minutes left.
Okay, okay. All
Yeah,
right. So if that's the
thank you.
case,
Yeah.
I'll wrap up. Yeah. This is the most important probably for all of us as engineer, because the things that I'm going to explain later on after this is just technical, yeah. Technical. All right. So okay. And then okay, carbon dioxide, I think I explained already why it is important, right? uh, and then how we reduce the carbon dioxide and what's happening in the world. Actually, I have the figure. Unfortunately, I cannot explain too much. What we have nowadays is just exponential increase of carbon in the air. Yeah. All right. So I'll give you in the slides later on. You can have a look what sort of characteristic, the range of technical properties of peat. Yeah, I informed here. Yeah. And this is kind of failure that we have in peat when you don't consider in your design. Yeah. Okay. What sort of tests that we have in order to investigate peat? Yeah, for the technical properties. Yeah. Okay. Now the problem is, can we construct peat without disturbing the peatland? Yeah, of course can, but we have to consider what we just discussed just now. Yeah, that excavation thingy. Yeah. So first, avoid peatland if possible. If cannot be avoided, then we should do what we just discussed. Minimize excavation. Avoid and minimize dewatering. So don't reduce the water level, and conduct environmental impact assessment. So these are the three things that we need to do. Yeah. All right. Road construction techniques. I think more or less we learn this in university, right? Pile foundation. Yeah. Remove and replace, but this is the thing that I want to focus here. It is not sustainable. So do not remove the peat from its place. Yeah, you can do other techniques, but don't do this. But in fact, still many consultant and contractor do this. Yeah, which is not sustainable. Yeah, displacement and surcharging. Yeah, I think most of us, those who learn geotechnical engineering, foundation engineering, you know this. Yeah, this is sustainable. Yeah, vertical drain, PVD is sustainable. Yeah. Um, Cement stabilization can be sustainable and sometimes it's not sustainable. Yeah, when you mix it with cement in a dry mixing method, yeah, it's not sustainable, right? And then use lightweight materials like styrofoam or sawdust. Yeah, it is sustainable. Yeah, it is sustainable. Okay. Rigid platform, concrete. Yeah. Geogrid, geocell. There are so many products that nowadays you can use. It is sustainable. Yes. Yeah, you can use this as a road construction and sustainable road construction. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much because I have only 2 minutes left, reminded by the moderator. Thank you very much. So these are the conclusion. Peat is formed from the composition of dead organic plant matter, all right? And the composition underwater takes long time, so therefore do not expose it to air, because when you expose to air, it will release the carbon and it decomposes much faster, right? So the construction, you need to keep in mind that you don't remove uh, the peat to the air, to expose to the air, and minimize the watering. And also you have to do environmental impact assessment, EIA. Okay, I think that's all my presentation today. I hope it benefits all of us. If you have any question, comments, or critique or